Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Sarah Seams podcast. My name is Sarah, and I'm coming to you from my little corner of the internet where I share all about my crafty projects. Normally, I make long form, podcast style videos where I mostly talk about knitting, but I share a lot of sewing and quilting, embroidery, spinning, anything you can think of, fiber arts related. I'm into it. So if you enjoyed this video, please do feel free to check out any of the other videos in my feed and like and subscribe if you feel like it. Today I have a very fun, different kind of video for you. So today for me is September 30th, which means tomorrow is October 1st. And October is officially Sock-tober. So in October, we try to knit socks. If you like knitting socks, which I do, I love knitting socks. It is one of my favorite things to knit, socks are. The first thing I ever knit was a pair of socks, and I just love them. I definitely go through ups and downs when I have a lot of sock knitting mojo and maybe not as much, but lately I've had a lot. My goal this year was to knit 24 pairs of socks. I definitely think I'm going to surpass that, which is exciting for me. But I don't know what got into me. I did something kind of wild last night. I had a free evening and I decided I was gonna try and cast on 6 different pairs of socks in 6 hours. And I did. So having done that, I thought maybe I would hop on and record a little Sock-tober inspiration video to share with all of you fellow sock knitters out there. And just show you a few things. So I'm gonna show you the 6 pairs of socks that I cast on yesterday. And I thought I would also show you a couple other pairs of socks I've already knit this year that were just some of my favorites. And yeah, send you on your way into October with some inspiration. And if you're interested in following along with my sock knitting journey, you can find me on Instagram at Sarah_Seams. That's linked below in the description box. And without further ado, let me show you what I did. So yeah, I don't know what came over me yesterday, but I have lately had so much sock knitting inspiration, and I just kept pulling all these yarns out of my stash, and I was like, okay, I want to make this pair with these, and I want to make this pair with these. And then I would say, no, I already have 3 pairs of socks on the needles. I need to wait. And yesterday I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it and cast all of these on. And it was a really fun challenge. I almost didn't do the last pair, but I'm glad I pushed through. And a lot of what you're gonna see today are from this book. So this is The Sock Project by Summer Lee. This is a fantastic book. I have been really enjoying it. I'm kind of knitting my way through hopefully all of the patterns in the book. And right now I'm in the ribbed sock section. So I'll show you some patterns from here, talk a little bit more about this, but a lot of the socks I've been knitting this year have been from this book. So if you hear me saying it over and over again, that's what that is. Okay, so the first 2 pairs that I cast on yesterday were the second sock for a sock that I had already finished. So let me show you those first. And the first pair, and these look funny because they're not blocked yet. This is a book from a pair from Summer's book. These are just the basic 2x2 ribbed sock, but with color blocking. And I did finish the first one. So yeah, it looks so silly being unblocked, but here it is. So the yarns are Knit Pick Stroll. The red is called Buoy and the pink is called Dogwood Heather. These are knit top down 2x2 rib, and they just have a heel flap and gusset. I used the red for the toe as well. I think these are going to be really cute. And I was kind of waffling about if I wanted to knit the second one exactly the same or knit it inverse, so like pink cuff, red body, pink toe. But I did decide that I'm just going to knit it the same because I love the idea of wearing these with the red like popping out of the top of my boots. So I did go ahead and cast on the second one. And I should say my criteria for these cast-ons was that I needed to cast on and knit at least 1 inch. That was my goal. So here you can see I just started my little 2x2 cuff. And those ones are pretty straightforward. These are living in my little rice bag. I bought this from a local maker. It's an excellent sock bag. There are lots of free tutorials for this type of square bottom rice style drawstring bag online if you're interested. And this has kind of been my car project. So that's gonna go back in the car, kind of my on-the-go knitting. Okay, the second one where I had already finished the first sock. This was a test knit, and these should be coming out soon, so keep your eye out. These are the Corinthian socks by, I think Laura, I want to say her last name is McLean. I'll put it on the screen if that's wrong, but her username is Sunday Morning Knits. She also has a lovely podcast if you're interested. And here is the first one that I finished. How to show. Sorry, I don't normally sit this close to the camera. So you can see they're inspired by a Corinthian column. So they have the ribbing mimics the fluted column, and then they have this beautiful lace that mimics the like leaves at the top of the column, and then this beautiful topper here that is a folded over cuff with a bit of lace. The yarn I'm using is Rainbow Sprinkles by Camellia Fiber Co. And it does have the 2x2 rib continues into the heel, which is a nice detail, and I've not done that before. So yeah, I think this turned out really cute. It is quite long. It's like 6.5 inches in the leg. They fit really well. Very happy with them. The yarn is super fun and playful. And I went ahead and cast on the second one. So this cast on looks a little bit different because of that folded cuff. So instead of ribbing, I knit about 1.5 inches of stockinette. And I decided to knit a little bit more on this one. I basically just knit to the point where I need to start that little lace detail on the cuff. So I got 1.5 inches on this one. Keep chugging away on that one. I'm running out of room to set things. Okay, so now we're getting into brand new sock projects territory. And this is another pattern from Summerlee's book, so let me show it to you. If I can find it. Okay, here it is. So these are the DK ribbed socks. Show you the image. So she uses a DK weight yarn for her sample. I am using fingering weight yarn held double, and that yarn is this. So pretty. It's like a real pretty light pink with, you might not be able to see this, but it has rainbow stellina, so it has some sparkle, and it has these little rainbow tweedy bits. This yarn is by Moondrake. The color is Birthday Cake, and it came with this mini as well, which I'll use for the toe. And this was a special yarn for La Mercerie's shop birthday that I picked up last year. And as I said, I'm holding it double. I'm knitting size medium, and I did cast these on. Again, here I knit a little bit more just because the DK knits up so quickly. But yeah, I think these are gonna be so cute. I'm really, really excited for these. This was one of the yarns I've been like itching to cast on for like months. So that one is fun. Latte break. I am enjoying a homemade latte. All right, what's next? Next is a pair of socks I'm making for my partner, Troy. He has come to love a homemade sock, but it did take handmade, but it did take us a minute to find the right fit for him. So when I first started knitting socks, I figured out what worked for myself, and then I just knit the same thing for everyone else. And it took me a minute to realize that that didn't really make sense. You know, everyone's feet are a different size and shape, and his feet are narrower than mine, similar in length but narrower, so he needs fewer stitches around. So now that we found a good formula for him, he really enjoys his hand-knitted socks. He likes them to fit a little bit tighter, which I personally like my socks that way as well. So for him, I should say all the ones I've shown so far were on a 2.25 millimeter needle. For him, I do a 56 stitch sock on a 2.5 millimeter needle. And we picked up this really fun yarn. He actually purchased this yarn at the Michigan Fiber Festival when we were up there about a month ago. And we went to this vendor who had a Halloween collection. And Troy really likes spooky stuff and Halloween, so he picked out this gorgeous yarn. It's by You Sock See Thing, which is an excellent name. It is a merino tencel nylon blend, which is also nice for him because his feet get hot, so that little bit of tencel just helps to cool a bit. The color is zebra, but it's really cool when you knit it up. It kind of looks like little ghosties or something. So I'm just knitting for him. This is going to be pretty much a plain stockinette sock with a 2x2 cuff. So I did go ahead and just knit that little, maybe a little over an inch of the 2x2 cuff, and then the rest is just going to be plain stockinette. Probably do like 3.5 or 4 inches of leg before I start the heel flap. And yeah, I just can't get over how fun this yarn is knitting up. It is quite dark, so you know, we're getting into the darker days, so it's going to be a little tougher to knit on this. It matches my outfit, but it's okay. I think they'll knit up pretty quickly. And the yarn is really fun, so that always helps them to go faster. 2 more. I can't believe I cast on all of these yesterday. And it's fun to see how like kind of different they all are too. So this one is a different technique, mostly because I started running out of needles. Okay, so another kind of sock yarn that I've been like itching for lately was self-striping. And I recently picked up a 50-gram skein from Nomadic Yarns, which is a great self-striping dyer if you've never heard of them. This color is called Good Luck Babe, of course, inspired by icon of the summer, Chapel Roan. And I just loved the colors. So here's what the yarn looks like. It's really funny. Like I'll show you in a second. I have these 2 boxes full of socks that I've knit for myself right here. And it is all pink, purple, and blue. And when I look at this, I'm like, oh, these are my colors, I guess. It's just kind of funny how you end up, you know, you like what you like. But yes, so this is Good Luck Babe on the Twisty Sock base by Nomadic Yarns. And for these, as I said, it's only a 50-gram skein, so I want to make sure I'm using as much of it as I can and that I'm not going to be playing yarn chicken. So I decided to do these toe up, and I decided not to use a contrast color for the toe and the heel. So I'm going to do them toe up, and then I will do an afterthought heel in the self-striping yarn. So let me show you the toe. I'm using Magic Loop to knit these. If you hear meowing, I apologize. That is one of my 3 cats yelling in the background. Yeah, so I did the toe and I did knit the entire toe. So again, got a little bit more done on these. I love how the stripes are knitting up. So what I did was weigh the skein before I started, and it was actually, or the ball, it was actually closer to 55 grams. Then after I finished the toe, I weighed it again. So now I know how much, because an afterthought heel is basically just a toe, maybe a little bit more. You usually do a couple extra rows at the beginning. So that told me how much yarn I was going to need to leave for my afterthought heel. Then I took my total amount of yarn, which was, like I said, around 55 grams, divided it in half, and I subtracted a couple grams just for, you know, a little bit of leeway. And then I subtracted the amount. This was about 4 grams. So I got to like 55. I just chalked off the extra 5 to say I'll have 5 grams left just in case. So if I started with 50 grams, sorry to give you a math lesson this early in the morning. It's early for me. It's about 8 a.m. I started with 50 grams, divided that by 2 for 2 socks. So that gave me 25 grams. Then I subtracted 4 grams. So rounded up to 5 grams for the heel that I needed to leave. So I know I could start knitting on this, and I need to keep just knitting straight, including my cuff at some point, until I have used 20 grams. So that's how I'll know when I'm done with the first sock, and I'll have enough to do my heel on that sock and the entire second sock with a little bit left to spare. So if you've ever kind of wondered how to like approach dividing something up like that, that's kind of how I did it. And just look at these colors again because they're so fun. So yeah, kind of nice to throw a toe up construction in there, something a little bit different. These are 2.25 needles. I do prefer DPNs. I know everyone has their sock knitting preference, whether it's double pointed needles, magic loop, or 9-inch circulars, but I learned how to knit socks on DPNs, and so I think I'm just the most comfortable with them, and they'll always have my heart. But I did recently learn how to do magic loop, and it has been a very useful skill, not just for socks, but also for like knitting sleeves and all kinds of other things. So yeah, I feel like if you love knitting socks, it's good to try all the methods. I have tried 9-inch circulars. They're not my favorite, but I would like to try a few different types, especially for color work, and see how I get on. All right, last one. Trying to keep this video under 20 minutes. So last pair I cast on yesterday, and this is, oh, I'm leaving little things all over the table. This is another really cute bag. I picked this up at the Moon and Yarn craft room in Pittsburgh when they had their grand opening a couple years ago. The bag is by Lock Knits, really cute. Okay, so the last one I'm going to show you today is another pattern from Summer Lee's book, and it is the Britain Stripe ribbed socks. These are super fun. They've got the stripes, they've got the color blocking, they've got the rib. There's a lot going on, but I find that Summer Lee really inspires me to use color in a different way, and that's something that I've loved about knitting her patterns. You know, I'm still using colors that I love, but I'm using them in a different way that I wouldn't have normally thought to do. This pattern especially is combining a lot of the techniques that we've learned in this section of the book. So how to knit jogless stripes and how to knit your stripes in ribbing without getting that little purl bump. So these ones I need to be a little bit more mindful as I'm going, just to make sure I'm using all those techniques, because there's a lot of stripes and color changes. But that kind of makes it fun. You know, if you need one that's a little bit more mindful, it's nice to have one like that. So the yarn I'm using for this is a mini skein set that I picked up from Knit Picks. It is the Stroll Tweed, and it's these really fun colors. Let me see if I can just show you them all at once. So these 5 colors came in a set. So there's the pink, the light blue, darker blue, and then a dark and light purple. So my plan is to use the pink for the heels and the toes. And then I'm gonna stripe the light colors together, so like colors together. So I'll stripe the light blue and the dark blue, and the light purple and the dark purple. And my plan is for the top section of the foot, I'm gonna do the light color as like the main color. And for the bottom section of the foot, I'm gonna do the dark color as the main stripe. And I'm gonna flip the placement. So like on one, purple will be on top and blue will be on the bottom. And for the other one, it'll be the opposite. So that's probably hard to picture before you really see it. And I just have an inch or so to show, but let me show you what I did start with. So I decided to start with the purples. Again, these are 2.25 millimeter needles. This is 2x2 rib. I've been knitting a lot of rib lately, especially in socks, and I am a little bit ready to move past this section of the book. I like knitting ribbed socks, but I don't necessarily love knitting like 4 pairs of ribbed socks at the same time, because my test knit also was 2x2 rib, but they're all gonna be gorgeous. So yeah, so I started with the lightest purple. I just do a regular long tail cast on, but I make sure to leave room between the stitches on the needle. That gives it a little bit more elasticity. And then I'm striping in the darker purple. So you can see how nice that transition is. There's no purl bumps visible. And the trick is when so you're knitting it this way, right? So I knit these 8 rows of the light purple. And then when I started the new color, instead of doing a row of ribbing, you do a row of knit stitches only. So you don't see those purl stitches. Then on the next row, you start back up with the 2x2 rib. And it just makes this perfectly seamless transition, and you really can't tell that there's a row of just ribbing, of just, you know, stockinette there. It just looks like the ribbing continues, because it does in the next couple rows. So every time I'm changing colors, I'm doing that, and that's how you get this really nice clean stripe. So for this one, it'll be the light purple with the dark purple stripes, and then the pink heel, and then at the bottom, it'll be dark blue with light blue stripes, and then the pink toe, if that helps you visualize it. And then the other one will be like the blues and purples are reversed. So these are really fun. Knit Pick Stroll is a great, affordable sock yarn. It's not my favorite sock yarn, by any means. I don't think it's very hard wearing. If you're planning to wear your socks like with boots, in shoes, wear them out and wear them kind of hard, I could not really recommend Knit Pig Stroll. I found that it doesn't have a ton of elasticity, so if it gets stretched out in your shoe, it doesn't necessarily like retain its shape very well. I tend to wear my socks more just like around the house, and definitely my Knit Pig Stroll socks are ones that I wear around the house. I have plenty of other socks that I like enjoy wearing in boots if I need to do that. So those are my 6 socks that I cast on yesterday. And oh, we're over 20 minutes, but I won't go over 25, I promise. I just wanted to quickly show you this is not all of the socks I've knit this year because I've gifted quite a few, but some of the socks I've knit this year that I'm keeping for myself. Here they are. And I keep these in these little cedar boxes. These are also from Knit Picks. Great way to store socks. What I do if I knit a pair of socks for myself throughout the year is just fold them up nicely and put them in these boxes. And then during the holiday season, I kind of like gift them to myself. So probably this year I'll have enough to do almost every day of Vlogmas, like the month of December leading up to Christmas, give myself a new pair of socks. And I can afford to do that because I have so many pairs already. But it is just kind of fun because you almost like forget about some of them. But I thought I would just quickly show you some of my favorites. And the first pairs I wanted to show you are what I call D20 socks. And this is a project that I was inspired to do by Mackenzie of M to the Third Knitting. Basically what you do is gather a bunch of scrap colors, like ideally 20, but you can use any number, and you get a 20-sided die like you would use in D&D or whatever, and you assign a number to each color, roll the dice to pick a color, roll it again to tell you how many rows to knit. And so it's totally random, and what you end up with is a really fun pair of kind of mismatched but friendly socks. So for this pair, I just used 1 strand of fingering weight yarn and let the die decide how many the color, how many stripes, and they're so fun. These are so addictive because you just can't wait to see like what's the next color gonna be. And another play on this is to do a DK weight version, and I love these even more because I love marling. And for the DK weight version, you get to use 2 colors at once. And I think it creates such a fun fabric, and I think that they're a little bit more cohesive because of the marling. So the past 2 years, early in the year, I've knit a pair, like 2 pairs of these with scraps from the previous year, like a fingering weight pair and a DK weight pair, and they are some of my favorite socks to wear and some of my favorite socks to knit. So if you've never tried something like that, I would definitely recommend it. And if you don't have a D20, you can use, there's some online, like you can just search like digital D20, and I'm sure that it would come up where you just click the button and it tells you a number. Another of my favorites, this was an independent Summer Lee pattern from earlier in the year before I started working through her book. These are the DK weight hibernal socks, and I love the pattern, but I especially loved this yarn, and of course now I can't remember what it is, so I apologize. But it's a more woolly yarn that had some BFL in it, and it just has a little more tooth to it. To me, these are perfect like boot socks because it's a more natural wool yarn, like it's gonna retain its shape better and be super warm, and I just love the color and the little faux cable. Yeah, definitely check out the hibernal socks. They also knit up really quickly. Let's see, I'm trying to fold these back up as I go here. Okay, a really crazy pair of socks I knit earlier this year. So Jamie Lomax from Pacific Knit Co. releases the Doodle decks, and basically what they are just little packs of colorwork pattern designs. And she released 2 like Valentine's collections, and I decided to knit them up into some Valentine's Day socks. I had never knit all over colorwork socks before, and these were a bit of a beast. I am obsessed with how they turned out. They're kind of inverse colors, not exactly, but kind of. Yeah, they took forever to knit. I learned a lot. I messed up the heel construction, but I made it work. There were a lot of additional ends to weave in because of the way I did it, but I did make it work. And yeah, I would definitely recommend trying her patterns for socks if you are interested. I think she has a book coming out with some patterns in it. What else? Maybe I'll just show one more recent one. One of my favorite pairs of socks I've ever made, also from Summer's book, are just a basic pair of like scrappy striped socks, but I just love the colors with the white heel, toe, and cuff. I just think they're so gorgeous. And these were all just little scraps I had kicking around. So honestly, most of these socks I knit this year were from things that I already had in stash. So definitely be sure to shop your stash when you are looking for sock inspiration. All right, I'm gonna call it there because I've gone over my time limit. I gotta get to work. But thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you are planning to knit some socks in Sock-tober, and if you're feeling inspired by any patterns or colors or designers. I would love to hear about that. I am gonna sign off here, but as I said, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. Please feel free to check out some of my other podcast videos. It has been almost 2 years now that I've been here growing this little community on YouTube and loving every minute of it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy some sock knitting in the coming month, and I'll see you next time. Bye.